Hello, class. This is Mr. Hart, and in this podcast, we want to talk about something called the base of support. Okay. Now, this is the last part of our center of mass unit, and it reminds me of a friend who could never get his Christmas tree to stand upright. It always just kind of tipped over, and it couldn't stand in the base very well, and it was always just falling over and breaking stuff. Okay, and he hated it. He just had a bad stand for his Christmas tree. But let's think about why things tip over anyways, and what causes things to tip. Now, you may just say, oh, well, force is applied. That's kind of a lazy answer. Let's get more specific as to why something will tip over or not, okay? And that has to do with this base of support, okay? And here's our key idea of base of support, okay? Basically, an object cannot support itself, okay? Meaning it cannot stand up straight or it will tip over if its center of mass does not lie in the base of support. So, simple idea, okay, but what does it mean? What is the base of support? How can we describe it? Okay, here's an example I usually give in class. Think about a chair, okay, standard school chair that you're sitting in, okay, you may be even sitting one at home, a chair like this, okay. The base of support for a chair is just a big square, okay. If you look at an aerial view down at your chair, okay, looking down, okay, you have the four legs of the chair. The base of support is anywhere within that square, okay? Now, so if you think about this chair, for example, and you sitting in it, okay, you can imagine if you're sitting in that chair, your center of mass is, if you're sitting up straight, will be along your back area, okay? So it'd probably be pretty close, maybe around this area, kind of hard to draw, but if you drew a line straight down to the ground, okay, and this is the chair, okay, the base of support will be somewhere around this area, okay? If this is the front of the chair and that's the back of the chair, right? You take your center of mass, just kind of draw it to the ground, okay? If that center of mass lies within the base of the support, it's stable, okay? That's why you can sit in a chair and you don't tip over, okay? Now, think about if you go on two legs, okay? And you lean back on your chair like that, okay? That's not a very stable configuration for your chair, which is usually why you have to hold on to something or you put your legs around something, okay, to hold you up, or you keep your legs on the ground, okay? Because what happens? Well, this was your center of mass. Now, if you're just on the back two legs, the range or the base of support is just that area between the two legs. So as soon as you lean back, guess what it wants to do? It wants to tip forward, right? Because it's no longer in the base of support. Okay, your center of mass is forward from there, so it wants to tip forward. Now, if you lean too far back, okay, you may have some experience with this, but if you lean too far back, right, you move your center of mass back far enough, you can get your center of mass on this side of the range, okay, or this side of the base of support, okay. Then what happens? You tip back that way, right? You fall head first to the ground, okay. Because guess what? Two legs is just not a very stable configuration because the base of support is pretty much just a line between those two legs. Okay? So that's base of support. Okay? If you've ever seen like a Christmas tree stand, right? It's just kind of a circular container, so its base of support would just be a big circle. Okay? If the tree is leaning anywhere, it can get pretty close to that edge and just tip over. Okay? Just think about any object, really, a table, okay, a stool, anything that stands up usually has four legs, okay, or a circular base or a square base, something like that, because it wants to be able to stay up straight because the center of mass needs to lie in the base of support, okay. Here's another example. You may have seen one of these, but these little toys that you can buy are called balancing birds, okay, and they balance on their beaks. Okay, I lost mine. I was going to show you mine, but I lost mine a couple months ago, and I don't know where it's at anymore. But you could put it on your finger, and it will just sit there on your finger from the beak. Okay, and it looks kind of funky because it's usually not how you grab a toy bird. You kind of grab the tail or something like that, but just floats. Just kind of looks like it's floating there, which is kind of cool. Okay, but they understand base of support when they design these. Okay, the center of mass of the bird is right at the beak. Okay. So even though this is a very narrow stand, because the center of mass is right there, it can support it. It can balance. Okay? If the center of mass was somewhere else, like a regular design toy, maybe kind of center of the stomach or something like that, it would tip over and fall off, right? Now, they're very clever in how they design these. They put most of the weight in this wing right here and this wing right here, and then they put a counterbalance on the tail. Okay, so most of the weight's there. They balance it out so that the center of mass ends up right there. Then it can support itself because it's within the base of support. Okay? And I recommend buying one of those. They're really fun. They're only like $5 on Amazon. Okay? Let's go through a couple more examples. Now, by the time you watch this, you may not be familiar with Michael Jackson, but he used to be quite the big pop star. And in his videos, he used to do this trick all the time where he'd lean forward. Okay? His music video, Smooth Criminal, kind of made him famous for this. Okay? And this is pretty freaky looking. You know, if you saw someone else doing this on the street, you'd probably freak out a little bit. Okay? But how is this possible? Okay? So if you think about it, well, the center of mass for a person is kind of in the stomach area. Draw that straight to the ground. Yeah, that's not within the base of support, which would be his feet, right? So how is Michael Jackson standing up correctly if his base of support's over here and his center of mass is over there? Okay. Well, the trick is he has some special shoes. Okay, and all of the cast members have some special shoes. Okay, and he actually patented this, which is pretty cool. But his shoes were designed to have these special interlocking bolts. Okay, so they put special bolts in the floor, and you would basically be able to hit your shoe against the floor and lock into that bolt. Okay, and you can see even here he has it shown that, hey, look, the center of gravity is definitely not within my feet. Okay, but because I have these interlocking bolts, something happens. So if you have that interlocking system, something special happens because now your base of support is the whole stage, right? Basically, if you can support your muscle strength, right, you don't like break your leg or something, now you have the whole stage as your base of support because you're locked to it, okay? So that's how he gets that effect to occur, is he has those interlocking shoes, okay? Pretty clever, really cool that he was able to come up with that himself, okay? Another example that I love is I'm a karate guy. I love karate. I do karate. I'm a black belt. And one of the things that's really big in karate is doing proper stances. So here's a stance called the forward bow. It's a stance you learn early on in karate. And if you look at the feet, okay, the feet are kind of shaped like this. Okay, they're pretty far apart. One leg's in front of the other. Okay, and you've got about shoulder width distance between them. And if you think about the base of support, it'd be that distance, okay, between the 2 feet and the width of those feet. So it's that rectangle area. Now, one of the cool things is your center of mass should be, you know, kind of over the center of your feet. And so you get that center of mass about right here. Now, why is that cool and why is that useful? Well, if you think about an attack, okay, if you're facing someone like this and you have this shoulder and your body's kind of stretched out this way towards them, okay, if they hit you and you go back, you get struck, you go back, well, your center of mass is going to move, but very slightly. It may move here, but guess what? Because they're striking you within the direction of your feet, you're able to support yourself because that attack goes towards your other foot and stays within your base of support. Now, consider that compared to like a horse stance, which is where you have 1 foot here, 1 foot there, and you face your opponent head on, your base of support is this area. So now if you have your center of mass there, okay, if you're just standing like this, ready to face your opponent, and they strike you back, okay, that's not very smart to keep your feet like that because guess what? Now your base of support, your center of mass will go like this, your base of support is no longer within that range, okay, and you fall over, okay? So when you fight someone, that's why you don't face them with both knees facing towards them, shoulders flat like this. You got to turn. You turn your body, you turn your feet, you put your feet back so that you stay stable when you're attacking them or they're attacking you, okay? And that's why you do it. It's a physics thing, okay? Karate and physics are always very related, okay? So that's kind of a cool application of that, okay? A couple more applications to think about is this is a very common thing to do with statues, okay, and architecture and, you know, things like that. Okay, sculpture has a very prominent thing with center of mass. Okay, this is an abstract sculpture of something. I don't know what it is, but you can see that it's very randomly designed, but there's a very important piece to all this. Okay, and you may not even think about it, but this little column right here is very important. Because guess what? I'm guessing that thing right here is pretty heavy. If this was not there, the base of support would be dependent on this half circle. Okay? And I doubt the center of mass is within that range. So they have to have that little column right there to keep it supported. Okay? You'll see many statues of people that are standing usually have their legs spread apart like this. Okay? That's not just for artistic reasons. It's because it helps support, okay, the range, or change the range of the base of support, okay, so that they can stay stable, so the statue doesn't tip over. You'll also notice they often have very wide bases, okay, kind of this area right here for the statue itself, so the statue itself doesn't tip over even if the feet are spread apart, okay. So you'll see that often, okay. That's not just, artistic, it's not just those types of things, it's practical. They have to do that to keep the statue stable, okay. One of the most famous examples of this was in the statue of David, which I just have the feet shown here, and that's for good reason. But you can see that he has his feet spread apart, but David's kind of leaning back in the statue, okay? And Michelangelo, when he was building it, he realized that if he didn't support the statue some way, that it would break, okay? And so you'll see in the statue right here, there's a random like tree stump, okay, along the back of his leg, okay? Again, not artistic whatsoever, okay? He tried to make it look like a tree stump so it had some meaning or something, but in reality he did that because if not, David would have tipped over, okay? Or worse, it would have broken at some point of failure and the statue would be gone, okay? Michelangelo understood some basic physics and realized that he needed to keep that there to keep the statue supported and stable, okay? And again, that's because of the base of support, okay? So really cool, just it kind of helps you understand why certain things are built the way they are, and it's just an awesome principle of physics. Okay, let's go through one more example, and this is my favorite. Okay, there's a scene in the first Star Wars, or I guess it's officially episode 4, okay, of Star Wars, where Darth Vader, the bad guy, is holding up one of the rebels, okay, one of the rebellion people to the Empire. And it's a pretty intense scene because he's just like interrogating him while he's choking him with one hand, which is pretty dang awesome. Okay, it makes Darth Vader look like a pretty dang bad guy. Okay, but it's pretty cool because if you think about it, if you just went to a person on the street, I don't think I could grab someone and just lift them up with my strength. And even if I could, you'd probably tip over if you think about it. Think about the base of support. It's not shown here. Okay, here's a statue that kind of replicates the same thing. But if you think about the base of support, it's just the feet of Darth Vader, right? It's just that area between his 2 feet, okay? And he's holding up this person away from his body, right? So if the center of mass is between the 2 of them, then you tip over, right? If I tried to lift someone up, I'd probably tip over forward as I was trying to lift them up, right? Because my range of support or my base of support isn't there, right? My center of mass probably would be out here. So what this means is Darth Vader must be pretty dang heavy. His suit of armor that he wears, his metallic suit that keeps him alive, must be pretty dang heavy if that's the case, because the center of mass must still be within the base of support. Okay, so here's the question: if the rebel weighs 73 kilograms and his position is what we call 0, and Darth Vader is about 0.5 meters away from the rebel, okay, and the center of mass is within his base of support, or basically about 11 centimeters wide, okay, that's about as far as he could get without tipping over. How massive is Darth Vader? Okay, so basically if the center of mass is within this base, how heavy must Darth Vader be? Okay, and so I won't take the time to derive all of this. Here's some of the calculations you can do. Okay, we just use the center of mass equation we used last time, plug in the masses and the distances, okay, and what you end up with is that Darth Vader must be about 260 kilograms, okay, or about 500 pounds, okay, which is pretty dang heavy if you think about it, okay. So I don't even know how they filmed that scene, but it's pretty cool that they got, if you think about the scenario, he's pretty dang awesome, pretty dang heavy and powerful, okay, if that's the case. Now, he may have used the Force or something, but we'll ignore that for right now. I'm going to assume that Darth Vader weighs about 500 pounds in his armor, okay. All right, that's enough for me, okay. Make sure you do the mini lab that kind of goes through some of these scenarios we talked about. Hopefully this all made sense. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.